I live in the UAE with my husband and our 1-year-old son. My husband's posting here in the UAE keeps changing between different cities, sometimes Abu Dhabi, sometimes Dubai, and sometimes Sharjah. Within a year, we had moved to several homes. When we moved to Sharjah, we looked at many houses, but none felt right. Finally, we decided to stay in an apartment in a villa. We lived there for a few days, and in the villa there was a Pakistani family with whom we occasionally talked. Once they mentioned that the house we were living in had been vacant for a year because no family wanted to stay there. The previous 3 families had experienced strange occurrences and left. Some stayed for 2 months, some for a month, and some only for 15 days before leaving. They told us that they had experienced supernatural disturbances in the house, but I didn't believe them as I had never encountered such things before. Anyway, I started living in this house. The first 8 to 9 days were fine, but then one evening, while I was working in the kitchen, my husband was at work for his night shift, and my son was playing with his toys in the room. Suddenly, I heard a woman scream from my son's room. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but then I heard the scream again very clearly. I went to the room and saw my son crying intensely with all his toes broken. He was crying as if someone had hurt him or scared him. I remembered the woman from the apartment and what she had said about the house. I calmed my son down and then called my husband to tell him about the incident. I also mentioned the woman's story. He laughed it off and said it was just my imagination and that I was becoming overly anxious. I went back to the kitchen and continued my work, keeping my son in sight this time. When I finished and started reading the evening prayer, I felt as if someone was standing behind me. During the prayer, I heard the sound of water flowing from the washroom, which was unusually loud. I finished the prayer and went to check. The tap was open and water was gushing out rapidly. I turned it off and heard something breaking in the kitchen. When I went there, I saw broken glass on the floor. I realized that the woman's story was true and that something was indeed trying to disturb us. The next 2 days were calm, but on the 3rd day, as I was about to sleep after finishing all my work, I turned off the room lights and turned on the night lamp. I laid my son in his crib and went to bed. I then heard footsteps near the door of the room. When I looked, no one was there, but again I heard footsteps, and this time I saw a woman walking towards the window. She stood there, silently staring at me with an eerie look. Terrified, I closed my eyes and started reciting prayers. When I opened my eyes, the woman had vanished. As I was trying to sleep, I felt sharp pricks in my legs, as if something was stabbing me. I turned on the lights and saw marks on my legs, like someone had pricked them with needles, and there was blood oozing out. I couldn't sleep that night as strange occurrences continued throughout. When my husband came home in the morning, I showed him the marks on my legs and told him everything that had happened. He started to believe me and called a friend who was a Hafiz and an Islamic scholar. He began reciting verses from the Quran in our house. While he was reciting, we kept hearing loud noises, but he continued. After he finished reciting, the disturbances stopped. He blessed a bottle of water, instructed us to sprinkle it in all corners of the house, and drink it for 3 days. My husband took 3 days off from work, and we spent those days in great difficulty. Things like lights malfunctioning, dishes breaking, and strange noises from my son continued. On the 3rd day, we found the gas in the kitchen had turned on by itself, even though the knob was off. Thanks to the Quranic recitations and the blessed water, things improved. However, after a few days, the disturbances started again. I asked my husband to shift to a new house, and like the previous families, we moved out. I later found out from the Pakistani woman in the villa that even after a year, the apartment was still locked and no family had stayed there. When anyone came to view the apartment, they were told about the disturbances and left. The most unfortunate part was that the property owner had bought the property but couldn't benefit from it as no one wanted to stay there. That's it for today. If you want me to narrate your story, mail it to my email provided in description. Subscribe to never miss stories like this.